These are the directions for the Vietnam simulation. So for the Vietnam simulation, each class will receive a sheet that looks like this, and I will assign a first lieutenant. In this case, maybe it's Bob, and then the squad leaders will be, let's see, Terry, Janet, and then Tyrone. So these four individuals are going to be placed in leadership roles, and then everybody else will be given one of these. If you are assigned the medic, then that means you are the medic in case somebody goes down. And for the most part, what we're going to be doing here is walking around the school within one block to see if we could make it within that particular time. So here we have a map of the school, and we are going to meet here at the LZ, which stands for landing zone. And then we need to follow these arrows and then proceed to this ditch area where we will fill out a range card. And then we will proceed through what is being called the My Lai Village, or this heavily wooded area right here. If you notice, there are some stars. There are some arrows with this particular line, and it's letting you know what you have to do at these particular areas. So what exactly does that mean? That means that your class is going to be scored on how well your group follows these particular formations. So when we're looking at these three images here, what we see is a multiple wedge, staggered, and a platoon file. So here we see the group walking in almost like an arrow, and the P, the AR, the TL1 is a reference to the items here. So depending on where which letter you are is going to determine where in the formation you are located. So if you're the medic, notice how the medic is here. This particular formation is a staggered, which means it's pretty much everybody walking in two single file lines with the leadership in the middle. And the platoon file is one squad, so this could be this squad here. Second squad would be in the middle, and third squad would be on the right in a wedge formation. So what exactly does that mean? Let's go back to the map. If you notice here, that's kind of what this is indicating, that when we get to this point, we're going to have one squad in a wedge, one in a single file, and the other one is a wedge, and you're going to be walking in this direction. Now, as you're walking, there may or may not be people that are going to be engaging you in fire. What that means is if you are fired at, that means everybody has to stop. Let's say, for example, somebody fires from this direction. That doesn't mean that this squad stops and these continue going. That means that everybody has to stop and react at that particular point. Again, for the most part, what we're going to be doing is arriving at the LZ, the gym, and then walking around, filling this range card out, and then continuing here. When we see these arrows, that's telling you you have to scroll to the road. So scroll to the road is you're going to need this particular patch right here, and it says it's going to be on the left arm of the shoulder. So every student will receive that. Every student will receive one of these particular range cards, and I will address that in one particular minute. So scroll to the road. When you're scrolling to the road, let's say here is the road. If you are the first person, approaching the road, your job would be to run across the road. And then with this patch, scroll to the road. This is your scroll. Your left shoulder facing the road, you should be pointed in this direction. The second person approaching this road does the same thing, but they would be looking in this direction. And that's so somebody's looking in this direction, somebody's looking in this direction. The third person that comes up relieves this individual, takes this position over, and then that individual is able to cross the road, relieve this person, at which point this individual continues to proceed further. So how exactly does that work? Here's the road. The first individual just runs across the road, is now looking in this direction. The second person approaches the road but does not cross. The third person then tells this individual, okay, I'm watching this direction. You cross the road. This person crosses the road, tells this person, I am now looking at this position. You can continue walking. At this point, this individual just gets back in formation. And then it's just a way to cross a road one at a time, making sure that somebody is looking in either direction. I want to point out that these are actual military exercises using field manuals. And this slideshow will kind of explain kind of what's going on. So when we see in this image, the road, this individual is looking at us, this individual is looking away from us, and both are providing security for individuals to be able to cross this road and feel somewhat safe that somebody is looking in either direction. And so that's what has to be done. So when you're looking at the map, wherever that map is, that's what has to happen at certain points. So these arrows are telling you this is a scroll, or these stars, this is a scroll to the road. So whenever you encounter a road, right here, right here, right here, the expectation is that you will scroll to the road. And you're going to be graded on this as a class. So as you're walking from your gym into this formation, somebody's going to have to cross the road hold security across the road, and then wait for somebody to position. So somebody's here, the third person then runs across, relieves, and then you kind of just go in that particular, following that process. So that's the scroll to the road exercise that you will be scored on. And again, that's what this is explaining here. So feel free to take a look at these directions if you're still somewhat unsure of what to do. For the most part, probably you will be making mistakes, and those mistakes will be scored on your class's grade sheet. That is going to determine how well your class is following, some of these particular formations. I don't know exactly where the directions are or the grading sheet for that. So again, scroll to the road is explaining that process. So take a look at this. Here, this slideshow is kind of telling you, one soldier is across the street, and then this guy is on this side. The next individual replaces this, and then we kind of just go in that formation. Reacting to fire. So if you are designated P, that means you're a point. And as this image here, we have these circles that represent students, and we have the leadership in the middle. And depending on fire, if somebody fires at this direction or this direction, you have to respond correctly. So in this image here, it's telling you that the direction of fire is from this direction, from the right. And what has to happen is you have to respond. So in this image here, if we're walking and the fire is coming from the right, the first thing is that everybody stops and takes a knee. You then want to call out, where's the direction of fire? So we have 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. It looks like it's coming from 2 o'clock. And whoever sees that fire knows where it's coming from. Everybody should be screaming, 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock. The leadership then has to make a decision and tell these individuals to run up and pretty much create a straight line facing the direction of fire. Why? Because if you're fired at this direction and these individuals stop and start returning fire in this direction, these individuals can't return fire because they would just shoot these individuals. So you have to bring everybody online to face the enemy. That way everybody is facing the enemy. And this has to happen in an instant. I mean, you get fired at, bang, get down. Leadership should be identifying a line of fire, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Who knows where a fire is going to come from? And then you have to respond appropriately. And that's what's going on here, reacting to fire. So in this particular image, what's going on is that the fire is coming from this direction. So the point is here. Everybody stops, especially on this side. Okay, it's coming from, it looks like about 11 o'clock. The leadership tells the right side of the right side of the wedge to move up in this direction so they can return fire at that direction. And this has to happen in an instant. Platoon leader, these are the jobs that you have and the task and what you are allowed to do. On the floor, you will see X's. Any sort of X or debris that is out on the field needs to be addressed. So if you are walking in this direction, and let's say you see a soda can, you cannot proceed further. You would have everybody take a knee and send somebody to investigate what this actually is. Last thing you want is to have your formation continue walking and this thing be a bomb, go off and then kill everybody on this particular side. So for the most part, as you're walking around the building, you're going to get a sense of what it was like fighting in Vietnam with regard to harassment. I've never had a class make it all the way to the My Lai village within one block because they have to scroll to the road, they have to do the platoon wedge, and they have to stop for a soda can. Here, somebody is firing at them, and they have to respond to that. So these are things that you need to do and respond to correctly, which is why you need to look through these particular files. As far as the range card is concerned, the range card, we're pretending that we are taking a night break and we are sleeping out in the field, and we need to feel secure within our perimeter where we're sleeping for that particular night. And that's where the range card comes in. So when we're looking at the range card, you pretty much want to be able to fill this out for each particular soldier. There's another image here, right here. So looking at this image, what's going on is we want to have a secured perimeter. We want to have leadership in the middle, and each circle represents a soldier. So this soldier's field of vision, left and right, is here. This individual's right limit is here, left limit. And you should have one person looking in every direction, and you should feel comfortable sleeping for that particular night. The problem is you have to draw what you see. And what that means is with the range card, you want to be able to fill this item out. So the way you fill out the range card, you're going to put your left limit, your right limit, and then you just draw what you see. Maybe you see a road here, you see a little house, you see a tree, and then there's a thick forested area here. So then you're going to put, let's say, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you put number 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just tell me what they are. We have a road, we have a house. You anticipate the enemy to come in this direction for some reason. And then all of that stuff gets turned into the leadership. And then the leadership can make a decision about what they feel would be best. Let's see. Squad leader will work on reacting to fire. Place your team in a wedge and stagger formation. Obstacles in your squad's decision by pretending you're a Vietnamese citizen. Now, so here's another item. When we're fighting in Vietnam, you also encounter the civilian population. So with the civilian population, let's say there's somebody here, you don't want to proceed further without asking this individual question. So you probably want to ask them which side they're on during the war. If they tell you they're hostile to the U.S., consider them an enemy, and we take them into custody. If they say that, they're no VC or that they are, they love America, you have to let them go. And that means then you continue walking. Now, it would be totally appropriate, considering the Vietnam War, that you let that individual go, and then this individual takes a shot at you, at which point now they are behind you, which would mean you would have to turn around and then deal with the wedge formation. And that seems to be the whole point. Again, we're trying to figure out what it was like to be in the Vietnam War as best we can. So let's take in Vietnam tunnels, see if I can find one of those images that we used in class. Let's take a look at this one. So if we're looking at this image here, notice that they're in a wedge formation, and you have somebody that's taking a shot here. I want to say there is another, you got guys right here. So like this formation, if this guy fires at them, he could easily get in the tunnel and then appear from behind. And just think about how complex that's going to be for U.S. soldiers to engage this enemy, considering the way that the Vietnamese are fighting. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do here. So look at the directions. Here it talks about if the person says VC number 1, VC number 10. Remember from World War I, if anybody says gas, you have to, put on the gas mask. That's another thing. Gas, gas, gas. Platoon leaders, these are your jobs. Use wedge and stagger formation when appropriate. Diffuse bombs with medic. So anytime you encounter something, whether it's a string, soda bottle, it doesn't matter, the medic has to go out there and diffuse it. If you want to call in napalm, that's fine. And anytime you see an X on the ground, you would want to stop. Every student should have this on their left shoulder with tape, range card, and we have that item there. Remember the signal for gas, which is your, fist coming into your shoulders. And I guess that's it. Depending on what position you're given will determine where you are, and we'll probably spend a class working on this before we actually go outside. And if you feel that you are not trained appropriately and you need more time, I think that's kind of the point. Remember, Project 100,000. See you outside at the landing zone, folks. Hooah.